Hi, welcome back to my channel. This is Joe Bren. So, for today's, I'll be sharing to you our lesson 5 discussion in the subject of ethics. We are almost there, so hapit na mahurot ang usa ka libro, no? So, this is the second to the last topic that I'll be sharing to you. So, I hope that you are learning from all the videos that I've posted. So, but before I'll do that, I would like to say thank you. Thank you to all my subscribers for all your support, and we're almost there. So happy na ta makaabot sa 1,000 subscribers. So I am very flattered for all your support. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I feel so proud of myself for doing this, and thank you for all your comments and feedback. It really means a lot to me. So I hope you will continue watching all my videos, and as much as possible, I'll be sharing all my learnings every week. So every week is I will be posting videos for you. At least you can get something out of my discussion. Okay, so clap clap. Thank you so much. I'm so happy. Okay, so for today's I'll be sharing to you this topic. So we will talk about the idea of virtue ethics. So this is our lesson 5 discussion. Okay, so are you ready? Okay, so when you talk about virtue ethics, what comes into your mind? Okay, so since we are done talking about the ontology, universalizability, the ethical dimension of human existence, now we will go deeper about the idea of virtue ethics. So, based on research, so virtue ethics is defined as the goodness of a human being. So, it focuses on our character and doing some virtuous act. So according to some psychologists, nine psychologists nag-ingon no, that human is good by nature. And that is the idea of human ethics. When you think about the goodness of a human being, you are talking about the virtues, the virtue ethics of a human being. And there are two major thinkers, mga ancient Greeks ni sila, that they are discussing or explaining to us the idea of virtue ethics. What is this all about, the I? So they kept on questioning themselves, what is the ethical principle of life? Unsa ba jud di ay? And these are Plato and Aristotle. Okay, so kaila pa mo nila? So do you still know them? Okay, so let's try to go back in time. So what is their idea about ethical principle? So take note that they both agreed on the idea that human as we are, we have our own rationality. We have our own rational will. And that is the main purpose why we have the highest faculty. Nganong naatay nindot nga panghuna-huna because we have our rationality. And because of that rationality, we know the purpose of our existence. We know what we are doing, and we know how to think. So that's the idea of Plato and Aristotle. Nagkasinabot na silang duha when you talk about the ethical principle of life. But at some point sa ilang discussion, no, murag na po sila conflicting ideas, nag-contradict ang ilang standpoint when you talk about the ethical principle of life. So, unsa di ay? So, unsa di unahuna ni Plato? Nganong naglahi man sila gunahuna ni Aristotle? So, the first one is, according to Plato, ingon si Plato ha, di ba, let's talk about existence, ingon si Plato, that reality it's outside the realm of any human sensory experience, but can somehow be grasped by one's intellect. Lawom kay Plato, no? Kay atong Bisayaon, ingon daw si Plato nga ang tinuod nga kinabuhi daw sa tao is naa sa mga butang nga iyang makita. Right? So ang tinuod daw nga kinabuhi sa tao is naa sa butang nga iyang mahikap, iyang makita, ug iyahang nahibaw-an. Meaning sa gawas niya. And this is reality. Kani atong na-experience karon, this is reality. That's according to Plato. Ug nakaingon ka nga tinuod na siya ang imong na-experience karon, it is because imong gigamitan siya sa imong intellect. Kay nagunahuna ka, therefore, imo na siyang gi-experience. So that's the idea of Plato. So how about Aristotle? Ingon po si Aristotle, no, nga ang ang tinuod daw nga kinabuhi, ang reality daw, ang existence daw sa tao is naa sa iyahang pagda sa iyang kinabuhi. Okay, so sa English pa, reality is found within our everyday encounter with the objects in the world. Okay, again, si Plato nag-ingon nga ang tinuod nga kinabuhi naa sa mga butang nga imong makita sa gawas. But, ingon si Aristotle, ang tinuod nga kinabuhi daw sa tao is naa kung unsa siya the way mudala sa iyang kinabuhi. Okay, so asa man mo kang Plato or kang Aristotle. Okay, so diha na ay contradicting idea. So atong sabton nganong nakaingon sila nga ang existence sa tao naa sa gawas sa iyang makita si Plato. Aristotle, ang existence sa tao naa kung unsa siya mudala sa iyang kinabuhi based sa iyahang nakita sa gawas. Okay, so mana siya no. Okay, so nganong nakaingon sila? It's because ang ilang justification is naamgutay matter and form. I am part of a matter, di ba? Na ato'y philosopher nag-discuss about matter. So, I am a matter. So, what is a matter? Anything that occupies space. Ikaw, you are a perfect example of a matter. Ako pod, I am a matter. So, since I am part of a matter, therefore, I have my own form. Na ako'y purma. Na ako'y purma nga akong gihulma kung unsa ko isip usa ka tawo. Right? So ako, akong gihulma nga ani ko, ang akong ipakita sa ubang tao because I am part of the matter at the same time, part ko sa matter, I also have my own form. Okay, so muna ilang justification. Okay, muna ilang justification. Therefore, makaingon ta that we are not separated from the object na naa sa gawas. Kay kung unsa ang nakita sa gawas, posible maupod na ang purma nga akong gusto nga ipagawa sa akong kaugalingon. Kay man akong nakita. Okay, so matter at the same time, I have my own form. Depende sa akong nakita sa gawas. That's why lahi-lahi tag purma. Right? Pareho ta human being but we have different forms. And we are not separated. We are not separated sa object nga atong nakita o sa purma nga atong gipakita. Kay murag lawom-lawom jud ni ilang pagsabot no. Sige lang atong simplihon. Okay, so we will talk about happiness and ultimate purpose. So we will try to understand the idea of Aristotle. Kay ingon si Aristotle, the main purpose of life is to be happy. So, according to Aristotle, when you when you talk about happiness and ultimate purpose, Aristotle stated nga kita kunong tanan ning buhat tag something because we have our own purpose. Na kay aim. Di kuno ka mubuhat og something nga wa kay rason, right? So, ingon siya na atay gitawag nga telos or the aim. So that's why we are doing something, we are pursuing something because we have our own aim or goals in life. Therefore, dili kuno ta mubuhat og something nga makadaot sa atoa. We do something because we think that it is beneficial for all of us. It is beneficial for me. It is beneficial for you. That's why you are doing this. That's why makaingon ka, nag-antos ka sa online because you have your own aim. Naa kay gusto. Nag-eskwela ka because naa kay higher goal. Naa kay plano. Okay, so that's the idea of Aristotle about happiness and ultimate purpose. So Aristotle clearly stated that we do something, we act something because we know that it is beneficial for all of us. And wala lang kunutan ning buhat og something just because of doing it. We are doing something because we have our own goal, we have our higher goal. So that's the purpose, that's the idea of Aristotle when you talk about our aim, our goal, or higher goal in life. So, since ang atong aim kuno diri sa kalibutan, ang ato kunong gusto diri sa kalibutan is naama siya hierarchy, na ako no siya sumbanan. Therefore, makaingon ta nga, kinahanglan po ta makasabot no, anong ning buhat ka. So, na ako no siya duha ka criteria nga makaingon ka nga ang tao nagbuhat jud sa maayo. So, the first one is kung makaingon na ka nga this is your final end. So, kung muingon na daw ka sa imong self nga kung mabuhat ni siya nako, okay nako, wala na kay gi-after nga lain, wala na kay gusto, basta kanilang siya akong mabuhat, okay nako. Meaning makaingon si Aristotle that you are dealing with your final end. 'Di ba ang tao normally kita, we keep on craving and craving for more, right? Sige mo jud pangita ako na nakaani mangita ka ana. Kung di na kuno ka mangita og lain pa once ma-achieve na siya nimo, therefore that is your final end. Pero kung sige pa kuno kag pangita og mas higher goal, mas higher purpose, therefore this is not yet your final end. So for example, nag-eskwela ka karon, dili man ingon nga nag-eskwela lang ka. Nag-eskwela ka karon because you are finding your higher goal. Therefore, ang pag-eskwela, this is not your final end. So that's the idea of Aristotle. And the second criteria nga makaingon kay that you are doing the highest good of a man, that you are doing the highest purpose of life, the second criteria is try to ask yourself, is it self-sufficient? Unsa man, are you satisfied? Kung mubuhat ba ka ana, makahatag ba siya self-satisfaction? Are you fulfilled? If nabuhat na siya na nimo, if nabuhat na baka, wala na baka nag-crave of something more, therefore, nabuhat na nimo ang the highest good of man. Again, so naay duha ka criteria when you are dealing with the highest good of man. If it's your final end, the second, if it is self-sufficient. Okay man ang usahay ba? Ingon pa si Abraham Maslow no nga naatay self-actualization. Actually, that is very difficult to achieve. Kung ingon kag you are self-actualized, kay kung ingon kag self-actualized, or if you are self-sufficient, or if you think it's the final end, you will not crave for more. Murag di na ka mo after nga, ay okay na ko, ani lang. Okay na ko. Once mahumanin na ko, okay na ko. Pero you keep on craving and craving and something for more, therefore you are not yet dealing with your final end. Okay, so what is the highest goal of Aristotle? Nganong mingon man siya ana? Ano nakaistorya man siya ana? How can we know that our goal is naana siya sa final end or self-sufficient na siya? Okay man ang usahay no lisod jud kaayo na siya sabton kay kita as human beings we are longing and longing for something more na nakay sakyanan palit na pud kaani palit na pud kaana na nakay trabaho mangita pud galing trabaho trabaho okay because we keep on craving for more and we can never be satisfied therefore wala pa jud ta ni abot sa ato ang finding happiness and ultimate purpose in life. Pero ingon si Aristotle, if you want to know the answer why, ngano kunong unsaon na to pag kahibaw nga we are dealing with our final end and self-sufficient na siya once ma-achieve nimo, mangutana daw ta sa mga older people, mga tiguang. Right? Kay grabe na kina sila wisdom sa finding happiness and ultimate purpose in life, no? Mo agree po na sila that the ultimate purpose of life is finding happiness. Because of their wisdom, because of their life experiences, nga muagri sila ni Aristotle that the highest purpose and ultimate goal of man is to be happy. Dili lang ang uban manggod we tie up manggod sa wealth no ang pagiging happy. Okay, kung nanakaana, kung kwartahan na ka, therefore you find happiness. Kung wala pa ka na, therefore wala pa nimo na find imong happiness. Pero take note, na ay uban nga naana-ana but still they are not satisfied. Still they're still finding their own happiness. Okay, so lalahi man jud ang tao. But if imong kaistoryahon ang mga tiguang, ang mga older individuals, moingon jud sila that the main goal of life or the higher goal of life is to be happy. Okay, so naamang mo tayo gitawag mood nga wealth, power, pleasure, murag kung ako ana kinahanglan man na nato no murag malipay ta natay kwarta malingaw ta pero kani siya we are not just doing it for ourselves, we are doing it because we want to find happiness. Tiningon si Aristotle, wala na jud kunoy makalabaw anang happiness. Murag ma-achieve na siya nimo murag kung imong tan-awon unsa pa may mas higher level sa happiness. Right? So kung happy na ka, therefore katutanan imong gibuhat, diri na. Mura siya there is wala na kunoy butang nga mas higher pa ang high nga mas higher goal pa sa happiness. Kasi that's the idea of Aristotle. Okay, so happiness seems to be the final end. Kita ko no isip ka tao is ang final end na to is to be happy. Usahay man good we tie up it sa atong wealth, profession, power, ang happiness, but dili ko na siya exactly mao na siya ay makahatag og kalipay sa tao. Okay, so lalay sa kalipay. What makes me happy is different from what makes you happy. So because we have different forms. Again, we are part of a matter, and being part of a matter, we have different forms. We have different characters. We have different personalities. Okay, so happiness for Aristotle is the only self-sufficient aim that one can aspire for. Happiness is the final end, and happiness is the only thing that can satisfy a human person. Okay, so for others, happiness is we attach it to our wealth and power. For others, happiness is something that are pleasurable, nga makahatag og kalipay. Okay, so that's why kung mo define tag happiness no, lahi man jud ang pag-define nato sa happiness. Kung magsige tag argue about happiness murag di jud ta mahuman. Kay lahi-lahi man jud ta. Okay, ang according to Aristotle murag useless siya nga makig-away pa ko kung unsa jud ang definition og saktong ug unsa jud ang sakto nga happiness. The only thing kuno nga atong buhaton to find our own happiness is to do our best, to function very well. Kung tanaw nimo nindot ka anang butanga, kung tanaw nimo nalipay ka anang butanga, do better. That's where you can find happiness. Kung business-minded kay ka, malipay ka magnegosyo, do something better sa imong business. There you can find your happiness. Right? So manang ako makanang lipay man ko nga mo istorya, mo tudlo. So di ako sa teaching because that's the place where I can find my happiness. Kung ang makapalipay nimo is sa industry, go. Adto ka sa industry because that is where you can find your happiness. Okay? So dito magkagubot about the meaning, where to find happiness because it is you who can really find the deeper sense of being happy. Okay. Okay, so how does a human person different from other person? So giunsa daw nga kita daw isip usa ka tawo ma murag malahi ta ba? It's because kung imong tan-awon, we are just the same human being. Pareha ta. Tao ko, tao sad ka. Nakailong, napuko ilong, pareho ta. But what makes us different from others or from the rest is how we function properly. For example, no, kahibaw ko musaya o di ba dancer ko. Naapoy mga kauban ako nga kahibaw sa sila musaya. Pero unsa may nakalahi namo kami mang tanan danceros, di ba? Kaming tanan ganahan musayaw. Pero unsa may kalahian namo is naa di uban nga musayaw very graceful. That's why kung moingon kuno ka what makes us separate sa ubang mga tao is how we perform. Is how we do our best in everything that we do. Right? So man siya how we stand out. Kay kung dili kuno ka mo stand out, giun sa man nimo pagkalahi sa ubang tao kung pare-pareho ra tanan. Okay, so meaning ako actually daghan kay mga teachers no nag-online, nagtudlo sad, nag-vlog pod, pero what makes me different from them? Kaya nagbisaya ko. Nag-English sila, nagbisaya ko. Ingani ko musturya, lahi ko sila musturya. Therefore, that makes me stand out. Nga bisan bago pa ko aning YouTube, no? Na ay ning subscribe, no? Bisan usa duha lang, it makes me happy. Right? At least napansin ko ninyo. O, diba? Na-stand out si ma'am. So, at least I'm doing something. At least akong i-share and the best thing nga tanaw na ko, ma-audio niya akong mabuhat. That's why di na ko pugson ang mag-English, no? Kay mas comfortable jud ko magbisaya. Because this is my language. So, ganahan ko ang Bisaya. Okay? Okay, so a person can not only perform by function, but she can also perform it well. So dili lang kuno ta mo trabaho tungod kay ato ni siyang trabaho, mo trabaho kuno ta sa atong trabaho og nindot nga trabaho. Okay? So for example, nagtrabaho ka sa planta, yes, kamong tanan na amoy trabaho, the same ang trabaho, pero what makes you different is how you perform. That's why performance, right? Ang ilang tan-awon is performance. Okay, so it's because we have our rationality, we have our rational activity. If you think maayo ka ng butanga, then do something better. Do not hide it from others. Kay basin di ay diha ka masikat or basin di ay diha ka mailhan. It's because of your performance. Do not function lang sa imong gitrabaho nga ani lang jud ka. If you think you can still do better, so that makes us human. Do something different and make you stand out. Okay. So the next topic is virtue as excellence. So according to Aristotle, lisod jud kuno kaayo ma-perform no kanang nindot kay ba. Achieving the highest purpose is very difficult sa atua as a human person. Diba nagmingon no that ganahan jud kog excellent ang performance, lisod jud siya. Okay, so because when you talk about excellence, when you talk about nga nindot imong pagpanarbaho is you are talking about your virtue. Okay, so what is the importance of virtue? Meaning virtue, when you talk about virtue is you are dealing with what? You are dealing with excellency. You are accomplishing something dili lang kay kanira imong gitrabaho, you are still doing a lot of things in excellence. That's why being excellent is dili siya overnight. Dili siya pwede nga maging excellent lang ka in just karong adlaw. Uy, excellent ako sa akong trabaho. So, kay ang virtue manggod, it talks about excellence, performing in excellence. But you cannot do it by a single act. You need to gain a lot of life experience, a lot of trials, mga kalisdanan no, for you to do it in excellency. So, unsaon man nato nga maging excellent ta? Okay, when you talk about excellence daw, according to Aristotle, it is the activity of the human soul. Grabe kay silang Aristotle, no? So, if you are doing it, if you are doing something, if you are doing something in excellence, meaning you are doing something that is part of your human soul. You are doing your passion. You are doing what you think is best for you. You are not doing this just for compliance. That's why I have a lot of students no nga mo submit, mo comply, but they are just doing it for compliance. That's why ang akong response, do something with passion. Because I want you to deal with the activity, your excellence, the activity of the human soul. Wala ako nag-ingon, just submit lang, just submit this, bahala na. I want you to deal with your excellency. Okay, so when you talk about excellence, the human soul is divided into two parts. Okay, so ang soul daw nato is divided into two parts when you talk about excellence. The first one is naa daw tayo the irrational element. So when you talk about irrational element, you are talking about something nga wala na ka naguna-una. Okay, so unsa man na siya, the irrational element of being human kanang mukaon naman ka diretso, di naman ka magunahuna, labaw nagigutom na ka no. Right? So, mura siya, di na ka, di na ka magpa-dictate sa imong reasoning. You just have to do it because you need it. Kinahanglan nimo kay gigutom na ka. When you talk about rational faculty is you are dealing with your reason. Nga before ka mo buhat og something, before ka mo decide og something, imo sa siyang hunahunaon. Right? Di ka mudali og decide. Kay because you have a rational faculty. Okay? Mao din ang pagiging excellent. Pero usahay kani ato ang pagiging tao, no one can usahay masayop ta bisan gaw nahuna na ka nga mao ni imong buhaton pero ang imong unahuna usahay sayop, pero kanang imong sayop diha pud ka maka-learn. Okay, so tungod sa imong sayop nakakat-on sad ka, therefore you have acquire wisdom because of your mistake. That's why usahay kinahanglan ta masayop no para makasabot ta kung unsay sakto o dili saktong buhaton. Ha? Okay, so ang atong rational faculty, naa siya duha ka aspeto. We have two aspects of our rational faculty. We have the moral, right? The moral faculty and the intellectual faculty. Okay, so ang atong rational faculty, ang pagiging bright nato o pagkamaayo nato, na siya two aspects, the moral and the intellectual. So when you talk about the moral faculty, this is concerned which concerns the act of doing. Right? So, atong moral, mao na siya mubuhat, ang atong intellectual, mao na siya maguna-huna. Okay? That's it. Ang atong rational faculty, mao na siya mother, na siya mga anak. Okay? The moral and the intellectual. Moral is the act of doing things, intellectual is the act of knowing things. Okay? So, take note, these two aspects are very important in exercising our functioning of reason. Importante na siya. So according to Aristotle, our rational faculty tells us that we can do something better. Tells us that we have two kinds of virtue, the moral and intellect. Our moral and intellectual, because of our rational faculty, makaingon ka nga ang tao kahibaw jud maghunahuna. And according to Aristotle, that the only way to attain nga makaingon ta that we are using our rational faculty is through our reasons or through our habit. Kung unsa kuno'y naanda nimo nga trabaho no, diha daw nimo makita og unsa siya the way maghunahuna sa mga butang. Kung bisag unsang problema no, although daghan kita nung daghan kitang problema sa kalibutan, pero kung unsa siya the way mubuhat bisan pag naa siya problema, mao daw na nga makaingon ka that you are doing your moral faculty. Okay. So, kumingon sad ka nga a morally virtuous man, kung morally virtuous man kuno ka, is kahibaw ka kung unsay sakto buhaton if you are morally virtuous. So kung dili ka morally virtuous person, meaning di ka mubuhat og maayo. Kaya di man ka kahibaw kung unsay sakto or dili. But if you are a morally virtuous man, you know how to determine the goodness and unsay maayong buhaton, the right one to act. Therefore, if we want to become a morally good person, for example, if ganahan ko maging maayo nga tao, therefore, I need to do the proper act. Dili ko mubuhat o dili maayo because I know that is not the right thing to do. Para mahimo ko morally virtuous person. Okay, so I hope nga nasabta, no? Okay, so next topic ang discuss ni Aristotle is the moral virtue and misotes. O, diba? So, lisod-lisod di siya i-pronounce, but I'll try to to explain it better for you. Okay, as stated by Aristotle, practical wisdom involves learning from experience. So according to him, kung ganahan kuno ta makagain og practical wisdom, we need to learn from our experience. Dili ka mahadlok mo experience, di ka mahadlok masayop because from the time that you commit mistakes, that's the time that you acquire wisdom. That's the time you acquire your practical wisdom. Practical because you experienced it. Dili siya theoretical. Dili siya tungod lang sa libro makaingon ka nga this is the right thing to do. No, mas nindot man gud ng practical wisdom because you are the ones experiencing it. Okay, so practical wisdom involves learning from experience. And usahay isip usa ka tawo, no, knowing the right thing to do is somewhat complicated, especially if kinahanglan ka mo pili, no? And it's not easy. It's not easy to decide. Labaw na kung naay mas sacrifice. So, mo lang explain ni Aristotle. So, that's why usahay sa atong life, we normally commit mistakes, and because of that mistake, we learn something out from that mistakes. Ang problema lang, nasayop na ka pero wag gapon ka na learn. Murag, you need to check your moral faculty and your intellectual faculty. Possibly na ay something, right? Possibly na ka i-correct sa the way ka maguna-huna. Okay, so as we grow older, we tend to become mature. As we grow older, murag, the way you do things, the way you live your life, murag, ganahan ka o peaceful life. That's why ang mga older people, no, murag ganahan sila mo stay sa bukid, ganahan sila mo-retire sa bukid, is like sa city because ang ilahang wisdom is murag na human ako sa city, murag nagtrabaho na ko ana before, so I need to relax, I need to find myself, I need to find my happiness. Okay, so based on Aristotle, so puro dun sa Aristotle atong istoryahan about this one, no? A morally virtuous person is concerned with achieving her appropriate action. So, ang tao kuno nga maayo kuno is naningkamot na siya mubuhat og mga butang nga maayo. Nga kasabot na siya asa siya mu lugar, okay? Dili siya grabe masuko og di pud siya chill lang sa kinabuhi. Naalang ko na siya sa tunga-tunga. Okay, mo ako na ang morally virtuous person. Okay, neither excessive nor deficient. Okay, ang morally virtuous person is kaya bang kung masuko ka, right? Usahay na ay mga tao nga dali masuko, excessive ang ilang kasuko. Pero napoy uban nga nasuko sila pero nga sila wait sa ha kalma sa diri sa ako sa ato sa sabto nganong nabuhat to niya. So therefore mingon si Aristotle is we need to find our mean, murag average ba. So ang level kuno sa kasuko sa tao is nakadepende daw na sa degree sa gravity sa iyang kasuko. Okay, naa may uban nga nasuko sila pero ang ilang action is dili ing ana ka excessive. Naalang sa tunga-tunga, well, masuko man ta, right? It's normal because we have our feelings, our passions, our abilities, our personalities. Normally, makaingon ta nga, usay masuko jud ang tao. But the way we respond to our anger, so diha ta magkalahi-lahi. Okay, so di pod ko makaingon nga ang kung masuko ka, sayop jud kay na siya. Kay na may usahay nga kinahanglan ta masuko because ang gibuhat sa atong nakaila di man sakto. Right? Kaya kung di pod ka masuko, murag deficient, ari po ka sa deficient, di man po ka paminahon. So we need to find our mean, our average, or the degree sa ato ang kasuko. Okay? So ang purpose daw aning miso test, o di ba? So a morally virtuous person targets the miso test. So what is miso test? So for Aristotle, um, ang ato daw miso test is nakadepende na siya kung unsa ka nga sitwasyon naa or the situation that you are in. For example, kung kani atong mesotest suday ko kani atong mesotest mao ni siya ang magsigi og adjust depending on the circumstances nga naa ka. So siya ang middleman, siya ang mean sa imong kasuko, siya ang mangita ana, right? So gikasab-an ka sa imong ginikanan, duha ra man imuha masuko ka sa imong ginikanan or imo sang sabton base na akay sayo. Right? Imo sang sabton. So, ang ning adjust ana depending on the situation that you are in is the miso test. When if you want to become a morally virtuous person, dapat atong i-target si miso test. Ang means sa ato ang sa atong kasuko. So lahi-lahi tag level sa atong miso test no. Ako kung masuko na jud ko, excessive na akong kasuko, na may uban mang hagis, mag wild. But for me, if nasuko na ko, I try to analyze things, muhilom na ko. So ning hilom na gani ko, therefore nasuko na ko. Right? Kay ning hilom na ko, I'll try to find myself the miso test, bas hindi ay napukoy sa'yo. Okay, kay kani atong meso test, siya may murag mo adjust depending on the situation that you are in. So, okay po ni si meso test no kay makaunahuna pud siya no kung asay sakto o unsay atong reaction sa mga butang. Okay, so siya ang mutan-aw kung nasuko ka unsa may mong action. Mura ba kag bata masuko or mura kag mature individual kung masuko? Right? Kay di man jud kalikaya no nga manggiaway or na conflicting ideas because lahi man ta, we have different upbringings. Even ang minyo gani na mo mga conflicting ideas, but we need to find our misotes, our middleman kung unsay saktong buhaton. Okay? So our feelings, our passions, our action, nandiyo siya yung middle point. Although our feelings, passions, actions, tama siya, it's a neutral feeling, right? So neutral na sa tanan. But if kasabot ka kung asa belong imong kung unsa imong buhato no in finding your miso test murag makahuna-huna pa kag sakto. Okay? Kung kahibaw da ka mo tan-aw sa average sa degree sa imong kasuko kung naras tunga-tunga, therefore makahuna-huna pa kag sakto unsay saktong buhaton, right? Pero kung excessive gani imong mesotest ang imong paghunahuna sa mga butang, usahay ang imong feeling dili maayo, then tungod kay ang imong feeling dili maayo, therefore makabuhat po kag butang nga dili maayo. So dapat dili kuno ta excessive, dili lang pud ta deficient. Dapat nasa ta sa miso test. So if we want to become a morally virtuous person, we need to find our miso test. So that is your middle or the average, your middleman when you're dealing about your feelings, the passions, and the action. Okay, so thank you so much for watching all my videos. Thank you for subscribing my channel. I am so happy. And to those who are new to my channel, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to get more updates. Thank you and God bless.